Hi, it's Mike Stephenson here. Today we're going to have a look at a video about Serverless 360, and we're going to look at business applications versus business activity monitoring. So I speak to quite a few Serverless 360 customers, and I think this is one of the fundamental concepts we want to make sure people understand clearly about what these two different modules do and why you would need each module. So here we've got an example of a typical Azure solution. So we've got our excuse me, get my pen here. So we've got our resources over in Azure over here. So this represents the, maybe I've got function apps, VMs, Cosmos DB. And from the perspective of accessing these resources and viewing them and doing something with them, we've got the Azure Portal down here. Now, the Azure Portal has the requirement that you're a relatively skilled person when it comes to Azure. So typically we would have our developer, our Azure expert, and our sysadmin. Now, these people would usually have a significant amount of experience and a significant amount of skill when it comes to using Azure. They would probably have awareness of a number of different resource types. I mean, bear in mind that there's probably 100 odd resource types in Azure nowadays. They would be familiar with navigating things like resource groups, subscriptions, going into resources and figuring out where stuff is. And these resources, they may be split across multiple resource groups, for example, is really common. So having that understanding of how my application's built is challenging because you're looking at a deployment-focused view. And what happens is, it's great, these people for doing the deployment and the build of an application. The Azure Portal is really a great tool for them to use. However, when it comes to runtime, you've got other types of stakeholders. So we've got support users, we've got IT operations, we've got business users. So these people are all stakeholders in your application, but they're not involved in the development, they're not involved in the build, they're involved in the runtime and the business processes that would be delivered by your application. So people up here, they're probably, they may have some awareness of Azure, they may have done a little bit of training, but they're not going to be day-to-day comfortable navigating Azure, working at a deep level with the particular resource types. They're going to try and operate your solution, but they don't have the level of skill of a developer or a sysadmin. And then the business users over here, they kind of don't really care about your Azure solution, whether it's a function, an API, a logic app, a VM. They don't really care about that. What they care about is, I've got an order that needs to get processed. Did it get processed? Was there a problem? How do I fix that problem? That's what these people care about. But they still are stakeholders in your solution. They just have, business users have no visibility. They have no communication of what's happening. Can't spell that. And they just don't really know where their orders are. The support team, they may lack access. They may skills gaps. They don't necessarily have visibility of the monitoring to tune it to suit their needs. They don't have an easy way of going in and saying, is my application healthy? How is it performing? Maybe they also need an escalation. It's common the business user might raise a support call and say, oh, my order didn't get processed. What's going on? So there's big challenges here, and there's gaps that the Azure Portal doesn't address these. These people can't use the Azure Portal. So this is where Serverless 360 comes in. And we've got these two modules. So we have business applications over here, and we have business activity monitoring over here. And the idea is that with business applications, you would add your resources to the application. So you would say, I create an application that might be my booking app. I'd add a function, I'd add a database, I'd add an API to it, and then I could manage that as a group of resources, and I would build a tree out. And then business applications is really a bit like a layer on top of the Azure Management API. So we're going to be from Serverless 360, we're going to be accessing Azure metrics. We're going to access the management API, and we're going to access things like custo queries. And we're going to be executing these and creating a view of your application that's based around support. So if you imagine up here, we've got the support focused view. Over here, we've got a deployment focused view. These are two significantly different ways of looking at your application. So by adding Serverless 360 business applications, we can help the support user and we can help the IT operations team see what's happening with your application. We can get them notified if there's any problems, and we can give them the tools to support the app. So that's step one, business apps. Business activity monitoring. So this is aimed about a business process view. So what happens here is that with business apps, if you notice the arrow goes this way, we're querying Azure to see what the health of your application is. When you implement your Azure solution, the arrow goes this way because you're sending business telemetry to the Serverless 360 BAM API, and you tell us about what's happening in your solution. So the idea would be your logic app might say, we've started processing an order. An API might say, we've just updated an order, something like that. And then here, that's where we're building tooling aimed at the business user. So a super user might go in and say, which orders have I had processed today? I've got an error with this one. You can see here there's a little visual of the view of a business transaction. So you can see there's a friendly view saying these are the steps that have happened. And that gives that person the ability to track and trace transactions, get monitoring about an order being processed, or if there's an error, you can see there's an error in order 50, as opposed to business apps, which would tell you there's an error in function, save order or something like that. There's a business process view versus a support view from a technical perspective. Now, the other good thing is when a business user has a problem and they need to do an escalation to IT support, the IT support users are quite likely to also use business activity monitoring to be able to have a look and see what happened, work out what they want to do, and then it might be the case that the most common problem we see is business applications says all the components are healthy, they're not reporting that there's any particular issues, but a business transaction may have had a data error that causes that transaction to fail. So you can have business errors as well as technical errors. And these are the way the two modules aim to help you give that holistic view to manage and monitor your platform, not just from the deployment perspective that Azure provides, but from the support perspective and the business process perspective. So this is what we wanted to talk about in today's video, just to get that view about what the difference between the two Serverless 360 modules are. I hope this is really useful for people. If you'd like to see more videos of this kind, please let us know. And if you'd like to learn more about these modules, please reach out and we can have a chat about that. Thanks for listening.